Hello everyone, Board Game Lawyer here. It is a Saturday evening and I'm going to play some Marvel Champions from Fantasy Flight Games. So let's go down to the table and take a look and see what we're going to be playing with this evening. So I've decided to play with Nebula. And we're going to go up against Taskmaster. So I'm using Nebula in her Precon form. So this is the Precon Alley series that I like to do. And I'm playing against Taskmaster with all of the recommendations on his Hunting Down Heroes main scheme. So let's take a look at that main scheme. It says that our contents are Taskmaster 1 and 2. That Taskmaster, Hydra Patrol, the standard encounter sets, and one modular encounter set is in our encounter deck today, and that is Weapon Master. Also, our setup says to set each captive ally aside out of play, search the encounter deck for the Hydra Patrol, put it into play, and shuffle the encounter deck. So if we look over here, if I go over and look at the encounter deck, so you notice off to the side here is the deck that has all 4 captive allies in there. I'm just going to go ahead and give that a quick shuffle. And then we also notice that on our main scheme it tells us to find the Hydra Patrol, which is right over here, and I'll read it. It says, when defeated, each player searches the encounter deck and discard pile for a Hydra minion and puts it into play, engage with them, and to shuffle the encounter deck. Alright, and it has a crisis icon on it, meaning I cannot remove threat from the main scheme while Hydra Patrol is on the table. Okay, so let's go ahead and flip over to our 1B side of our main scheme, and let's take a look and see what it says. So it comes into play with 1 threat on it. It has a forced response which says, after resolving step 1 of the villain phase, each player in hero form must choose to either place 1 threat here or take 1 damage. And if the stage is completed, the players lose the game. You add 1 threat per round onto Hunting Down Heroes, and it threats out at 12. Okay, so we're playing Nebula and Taskmaster, so there's a lot of things to keep track of in this game. There's several triggers, several things that can happen. Hopefully I don't forget them, but recording sometimes and playing are not always compatible sometimes. So let's see what Taskmaster does. So this is Taskmaster 1. He has a scheme of 1, attack of 2. He is a Hydra Mercenary. He has a force response. After a player changes to hero form, they discard the top card of the encounter deck and take damage equal to the number of boost icons on that card. Okay, so when we flip to hero form, then we have to flip an encounter card and take damage. So more opportunities to take damage. Taskmaster is pretty fun to play with. In fact, he's one of my favorite villains to play against. And a lot of layers to the Taskmaster, a game with Taskmaster. So it's a lot of fun. So Nebula, she is an outlaw who has a recovery of 3 in her alter ego form. She also has cybernetic upgrades, which is a response. After you play a technique upgrade, draw 2 cards, and this is a limit of once per round. She says that Thanos built me for one purpose, to kill. In time, he will regret that. She has a hand size of 6 and begins with hit points of 9. All right, let's look at our hand to see if there's any cards down here that we would like to mulligan at the beginning of the game. So here's one of those techniques. It's evasive maneuvering. While in hero form, Nebula ignores the keyword, the guard keyword, the patrol keyword, and the crisis icon. Choose to either stun or confuse an enemy as her special. Then there's determination. We've got Wraith, who's an ally. We've got energy, unyielding persistence, another upgrade, and lethal intent. So I think that the cards that I'm going to mulligan off is determination. We'll also toss off Wraith for now. We'll hang on to unyielding persistence, evasive maneuvering, of course, energy, and how about we I don't know if we're going to flip up or not into our hero form this first round. A lot of it depends on what we get, so we'll just hang on the lethal intent. That can always be used to pay for one of those upgrades. So we draw Justice Served, which is play under any player's control. After you thwart and remove the last threat from a scheme, discard Justice Served and ready your hero. And we draw another one. All right. So I do think for sure we want to start getting these upgrades out onto the table. So the first one that we're going to put out is evasive maneuvering. And we're going to spend one of those Justice Served cards to do so. So again, it says response. After you play a technique upgrade, draw 2 cards. This is a technique upgrade. So we'll draw 2 more cards. So there's Heroic Intuition, and we have another Heroic Intuition. Again, remember, playing with the Precon decks today. So yeah, I think we will... I think one of these Heroic Intuitions may not be a bad idea to get that out. And so we'll spend the 2 resources, the energy 2 resources, to put it out. And then how about we put out the Unyielding Persistence, and we'll spend our other Heroic Intuition to do that. And Lethal Intent, choose up to X technique, upgrade you control, resolve each of their special abilities in the order of your choice. So the special on here is to give Nebula a tough status card. That's not bad. Choose to either stun or confuse an enemy. That's also good. So yeah, I think we will flip over to our hero form. We're going to flip over. So now Nebula, let's look at her hero form. Since we just now get a chance to see it, it says that she has combat protocols, which is a force response. After your turn begins, resolve the special ability on each technique upgrade you control. Then discard each technique upgrade resolved this way. All right, so good. Now, when we flipped to our hero form, we do have that response here on Taskmaster. It's a force response. So we discard the top card of the encounter deck and take damage equal to the number of boost icons on that card. So the top card of the encounter deck, we're going to discard it. It has 1 boost icon on it, Hunted by Hydra, so we do take 1 damage. Now we're down to 8. And Nebula is going to... Let's see, Justice Served says, after you thwart, remove the last threat from a scheme, discard Justice Served and ready your hero. I could do that, or I could use Justice Served to pay for Lethal Intent, which would give Nebula a tough status card. Or stun and confuse an enemy. I think we want to stun the Taskmaster. So yeah, we'll go ahead and play Lethal Intent, which is an event. We're just going to spend 1 resource to trigger to stun Taskmaster. Discard Lethal Intent. And Nebula is just simply going to remove the threat from Hydra Patrol. Let's think about that again for a second. So I just played Justice Served. Chances are... Let's see. It says to search our discard pile for a minion and put it into play, shuffle. Tell you what, instead of using... I'm going to back up just for a second here. And instead of stunning Taskmaster, I think what we're going to do is we're going to spend Lethal Intent. Let's ready Nebula again. To put Justice Served out on the table, which is an upgrade. And it says, again, after you thwart and remove the last threat from a scheme, discard Justice Served and ready your hero. So now, if we, with Nebula, remove threat from Hydra Patrol, so we defeat Hydra Patrol. Now it says that we have to go and to find in our encounter deck and discard pile a minion and put it into play, engage with us. So let's do that. Let's go take a look at the encounter deck and find a minion there. And I think there is some minions in here, if I'm not mistaken, that have 2 health. Yep, there is. There's the Hydra Regular. So we're going to put him out onto the table. When we discard Hydra Patrol, okay, so Justice Served says, after you thwart and remove the last threat from a scheme, discard Justice Served and ready your hero. So we'll discard that. And we'll ready Nebula, and then Nebula is going to do 2 damage to the Hydra Regular to knock him out. Okay, so that's how I just decided to handle that one, because I knew that I was going to have to go find that Hydra character when we got rid of that side scheme, but can't really do much with hunting down heroes until we removed that side scheme from the table. So that's going to end my turn. We'll advance the phase. Let's see what we drew. We drew Weapons Master, another Weapons Master. We have One Way or Another, First Aid, and the Power of Justice. So all good cards in my hand. Yeah. So Hunting Down Heroes, we're going to place one threat onto Hunting Down Heroes, and then we have that forced response. After resolving step 1 of the villain phase, we are in hero form, so we have to choose to place one threat here or take 1 damage. I think we're going to place one threat on Hunting Down Heroes. And then Taskmaster is going to attack us, and he's going to do so for 2 plus 0. So now our health is down to 6. And the encounter card that's dealt to us is a Hydra Sidearm. Let's read that. It says, attached to the villain. When attached villain attacks, the attack gains ranged. So we can spend mental and fist resources to discard this card. The big thing is it's going to give him +1 attack. So we may need to get rid of that sidearm on Taskmaster. Alright, so that's going to end Taskmaster's turn. Beginning of my turn, the combat protocols goes off. Force response after your turn begins. Resolve the special ability of each technique upgrade you control. Then discard each technique upgrade resolved this way. So our first one is Unyielding Presence. It says give Nebula a tough status card. I like that. Oh. Also, I needed to remember before too that she was +1 thwart and +1 attack and stalwart while I had that Unyielding Presence on us. And we did have that ability to ignore keywords and the crisis icon. But yeah, I was +1 attack and +1 thwart before. Not that it mattered, because I used my abilities to knock out, kind of overkilled on the side scheme and the Hydra minion. But anyway, we're going to give Nebula a tough status card. And we discard Unyielding Persistence. And then we have the Evasive Maneuvering, which says that I can choose to either stun or confuse an enemy. And I think what I'm going to do is confuse the Taskmaster. Add a confused card to him. So we'll discard that. Now then, we have First Aid, One Way or Another, the Power of Justice, Weapons Master. It says, while in hero form, Nebula gains Retaliate. Deal 4 damage to an enemy is the special on Weapons Master. So yeah, we'll probably want to flip down and put out the Weapons Master. But we do have the One Way or Another card. Yeah. So let's do this. Let's take One Way or Another and play it. It says max 1 per round. It says hero action, search the encounter deck for a side scheme. Reveal that side scheme and draw 3 cards. So let's look at the counter deck. And when I play against Taskmaster and One Way or Another comes out, I always like to go find that Captured by Hydra card. So we have Captured by Hydra out there on the table. And notice what it says. It says, when revealed, place 1 random set-aside captive ally face down beneath the scheme. When the scheme is defeated, the player who defeated it takes that ally into their hand and removes the scheme from the game. Alright, so we can take one of these captive allies. We are going to draw it unrevealed, and we're going to place it underneath Captured by Hydra. Alright, very good. Next, by playing that One Way or Another card and pulling out that side scheme, that allows me to draw 3 cards. So we're going to draw Brains over Brawn. It says, after your hero makes a basic thwart, deal damage to an enemy equal to your hero's thwart. I like that. Then there's also a Genius card, which will allow us to pay for that. And then the third card that I draw is Nebula's Ship. Excellent. That's a good card to get out this early in the game. So discard one way or another, and I am just going for, let's see, Brains over Brawn. Yeah, we could use the Power of Justice to pay for that. Also, we might want to think about getting rid of his +1 attack, which is to spend a mental and a fist resource to get rid of that Hydra sidearm. Brains over Brawn. After your hero makes a basic thwart, deal damage to an enemy equal to your hero's thwart. If I were to put... And Nebula gains Retaliate 1. Those aren't going to matter. Nebula's ship. I definitely want to get that out onto the table. Here's what I'll do. With First Aid and the Weapons Master card, we're going to get rid of that Hydra sidearm. Just get rid of it. Yep. We're going to discard that. So these will go in the trash. Now then. Nebula is going to remove 3 threat because she's +1 thwart. Remove 3 threat from captured by Hydra. And we'll play Brains over Brawn, which says after your hero makes a basic thwart, deal damage equal to your hero's thwart. So we're going to use the Power of Justice to pay that. And so we'll do 3 damage to Taskmaster. Discard that. We'll spend 2 resources to put out Nebula's ship. You can exhaust Nebula's ship to generate a mental resource. We're going to flip Nebula over to her alter ego form. And we're going to use that 1 resource to put out Weapons Master. Now again, we get to trigger her cybernetic upgrades. So I get to draw 2 cards. So the first one is Justice Served. And the next one is Brains over Brawn. So Justice Served can be put on the table. And so again, it says after you thwart and remove the last threat from a scheme, discard Justice Served and ready our hero. So we've got that captured by Hydra over there. So this is a good card to have on the table too, because we want to try to rescue one of our captives over there. All right, very nice. So we're going to end our turn. And let's take a look and see what we got. We got Combat Ready, which is an alter ego action. Shuffle up to 2 technique upgrades from your discard pile in your deck. Nice. It says, or we can discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until you get a technique. And I don't have any techniques in my hand, so that might be a good idea to use it for that. But I did get 2 Combat Readies, so shuffling 2 technique upgrades into my discard pile and then searching for one might be the way to go. Okay, good. All right, so hunting down heroes. We're going to place 1 threat on hunting down heroes. And we also place a threat because of that Hunted by Hydra card that's out on the table. It has that acceleration icon on it. So we place 2 threat on hunting down heroes. We don't use the force response because we're not in hero form. Taskmaster is not going to scheme because he's confused, so he draws his encounter card. And his encounter card is a Hydra soldier who has a guard ability. When defeated, deal the engaged player an encounter card. All right. So that is the end of Taskmaster's turn. All right. So let's turn things over to Nebula and see what we can do on our turn. So I do think that we want to play that Combat Ready card. And I'll put it on the table here. It says Combat Ready. Discard cards from the top of your deck until you discard a technique upgrade. No, we're going to shuffle 2 technique upgrades into our discard pile, into our deck first. So let's look at all the cards in our discard pile. And we have Unyielding Persistence. I'll grab one of those and shuffle that in. And we also have in there a Weapons Master, or we've got Evasive Maneuvering, which allows us to stun or confuse an enemy. I like that one, so we'll shuffle that one in too. So we'll go ahead and shuffle our draw deck. And so that takes care of our first Combat Ready card. We did get 2 in our hand. So here's our second one, Combat Ready. It says to discard cards from the top of our deck until we discard a technique upgrade and put that technique upgrade into play. Then resolve its special ability. Wow. That's pretty sweet. Discard cards from the top of your deck till you discard a technique upgrade, put it into play, resolve its special ability. Nice. Get to resolve it. So here it is. Ooh. Thwart. Remove 3 threat from a scheme. Excellent. So discard combat ready. We're going to put Cutthroat Ambition out on the table, and it says that I can remove 3 threat from a scheme. So we're going to take 3 threat off of hunting down heroes. And it says while Nebula is in her hero form, her attacks gain piercing and overkill. Ooh. Good. And I get to draw 2 cards because this was our first technique that made it onto the table. After you play a technique. Is that playing a technique? Put that upgrade into play, then resolve its special ability. So putting it into play, is that considered playing it? After you play a technique upgrade, draw 2 cards. I'm going to say it is. Putting it into play is playing it. I could be wrong in that. We'll go ahead and draw 2 cards. So we got Unyielding Persistence. We got Venom. One way or another. Brains over Brawn. Let's see. Let's flip over to our hero form. Flip the card. We are going to I guess I've got a lot of things we can do here. I think the first one is going to be to play the one way or another Circean counter deck for a side scheme and reveal it and draw 3 cards. So we'll go find another one of those same side schemes. Yeah, Captured by Hydra. We'll grab another one of these. We'll put it out onto the table, which tells us that we can go find another captive ally and put it underneath Captured by Hydra. So we'll deal one of these face down. We'll move it up underneath Captured by Hydra. We'll just set it over here on this side of the board. Discard one way or another. And I get to draw 3 cards. So we draw a Wide Stance. While Nebula's in hero form, reduce the amount of damage she takes from each attack by 1. We also grab Nowhere. And we grab Daughters of Thanos, which is a team-up card. I haven't seen my signature ally yet, which is Sis. So, all right, let's take a look and see what can we do here. Deal 4 damage to an enemy. Remove 3 threat from a scheme. Oh, boy. Those will be good for Lethal Intent. There's a lot I can do here. So I think I'm going to spend... There's a lot I can do in this turn. How about if we begin by thwarting this Captured by Hydra side scheme? Yeah, we're just going to thwart it with Nebula. So we remove the 2 threat from Captured by Hydra, and it says that when the scheme is defeated, the players who defeated it takes that ally into their hand and removes this scheme from the game. So we grab our captive ally, who is Electra. It says after you play Electra from your hand, spend a fist resource, deal 3 damage to an enemy. This captured by Hydra. We'll send that to the victory display so it doesn't come back. Justice Served triggers. It says after you thwart and remove the last threat from a scheme, discard Justice Served and ready your hero. Alright. So Nebula is readied. Remove 3 threat from a scheme. Deal 4 damage to an enemy. We can also put Wide Stance out. Look at the top 3 cards you can counter deck. Or we could put out, choose up to X techniques you control. Unyielding Persistence says to give Nebula a tough status card. She's already got that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to play Lethal Intent. Lethal Intent, we'll spend 2 resources to play that. We'll use, let's see. Let's use our strength card to play Lethal Intent. And so we're going to trigger the special abilities on my 2 upgrades here. So the first one is to remove 3 threat from a scheme. So we'll take 3 threat off of Captured by Hydra. And then the second one says deal 4 damage to an enemy. So we're going to deal all 4 damage to that Hydra soldier, which says when defeated, deal the engaged player an encounter card. So here's the encounter card that we'll have to deal with later. So Lethal Intent is spent. Alright then. I can use... Yeah, we're going to remove that 2 threat off of Captured by Hydra using Nebula. Let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to remove the last 2 threat off of Captured by Hydra. We're going to send that Captured by Hydra to the victory display, and we can retrieve another of our allies. And we've got we got Moon Knight. After you play Moon Knight from your hand, spend a wild resource to draw 2 cards. And we do have a wild resource in our hand, Daughters of Thanos. So let's put Moon Knight out onto the table. We'll use Daughters of Thanos to draw 2 cards. So we got Eros and we've got First Aid card. All right. Let's see. If I play Electra onto the table, I can spend a fist card to do 3 damage. There's Brains over Brawn. After your hero makes a basic thwart, deal damage to enemies. So yeah, we could use that. So let's put Electra onto the table. We're going to spend the fist resource. And we're going to deal 3 damage to an enemy. 1, 2, 3. You know, when I flipped to hero form, I didn't do the forced response on Taskmaster. So I probably ought to do that now. I know that I did search the deck and that messed things up, but I do need to take the damage, if any. So yeah, I take 1 damage to Nebula, so she's down to 5. So yep, I did forget to do that. So shame on me for that, but that's pretty standard. I probably should take 3 damage just as a penalty for forgetting. But let's see what we got here. We got First Aid, deal 2 or heal 2 damage. We do have the Nebula ship still, so I could exhaust Nebula's ship to spend a resource. So we'll put Unyielding Persistence out onto the table. We'll also spend Venom to play Wide Stance. And Moon Knight is going to remove the 2 threat off of hunting down heroes. So we'll give him 1 consequential damage for that. Electra is going to attack Taskmaster to do 3 damage to Taskmaster. So we'll give her 1 consequential damage for that. We can either put Eros on the table, or we can just simply do a First Aid, hang on to Eros, or we can put Nowhere on the table. Play if your Only if your identity has the Guardian trait, increase your ally limit by 1. After a player plays a Guardian ally, exhaust Nowhere, that player draws a card. Let's just let's use Nowhere to do some first aiding to Nebula. We'll heal her for 2. And we'll discard first aid. We'll just hang on to Eros for now. We will end our turn. Now we need to look at our techniques here to make sure that we know what we're doing. So in hero form, Nebula gets +1 thwart, +1 attack, and gains stalwart. So she has stalwart right now. While Nebula is in hero form, reduce the amount of damage she takes from an attack by 1. While Nebula is in hero form, her attacks gain piercing and overkill. And while in hero form, Nebula gains retaliate of 1. So we place 1 threat onto hunting down heroes. We're going to place 1 more threat because of the forced response there. Taskmaster is going to attack Nebula. And remember, she's got that tough card. So he attacks for 3. We remove the tough. She's going to retaliate for 1. And we knock Taskmaster down to 3. Deals an encounter card. That encounter card is, let's take a look at it, an advance. So Taskmaster is going to scheme for 1. +2 is 3. Discard that. Discard advance. And then we draw another encounter card, which is Hunted by Hydra. It says Insight 1. When this card is revealed, place 1 threat on the main scheme. We can do that. Then it says, when revealed, each player in hero form takes 1 damage and discards 1 card at random from their hand. So we take 1 damage and we discard 1 card at random from our hand. The random discard is Evasive Maneuvering. While in hero form, Nebula ignores the guard keyword. That's another upgrade that she could have played. So we discard Hunted by Hydra. Nebula. We've got Moon Knight, Electra on the table. We've got one way or another, and we have enough potential to retrieve another captive. So let's turn things over to Nebula. First thing that we do is we trigger all of our techniques. So it's the first one is to give Nebula a tough status card. Add a tough. Wide Stance says look at the top 3 cards of the encounter deck, discard 1 and put the others back in order. We'll save that one for last. Remove 3 threat from a scheme, so we'll take 3 threat off of Hunting Down Hydra or Hunting Down Heroes. Probably been saying that wrong the whole game. And the last one's deal 4 damage to an enemy. So we do 4 damage to Taskmaster. We're going to discard him. When revealed, deal each player an encounter card. After a player changes to hero form, they discard the top card of the encounter deck and take damage equal to number of boost icons. So he keeps that forced response, but we do have to deal ourselves an encounter card for defeating stage 2 or stage 1 of Taskmaster. Very nice. All right. So the 4 damage, discard that. Now we're going to, I probably should have done this Wide Stance first. That way I could have seen what card got dealt to me there. But it says, look at the top 3 cards of the encounter deck. Discard 1, put the others back in any order. Let's do that. I'm just going to set them over here to the left. Taskmaster's Training Camp. We've got an Advance. And we've got Gang Up. So I think the Taskmaster's Training Camp, yeah. We're going to discard that. Send that to the discard pile. We'll put Advance on top of the deck. Let's see. Is that what we want to do? Yeah, I think so. We'll put Advance. Now let's put Advance there, and then we'll put Gang Up here. Discard Wide Stance. Okay, so we have one way or another And let's play it one way or another. Let's look through Taskmaster's cards. Hopefully we've got some of those captured by Hydras. Yes, we do have some of those left. So we'll try to retrieve another one of our we'll try to retrieve another one of our captive allies. So we draw unrevealed. We're going to place that underneath captured by Hydra. Bring that to the front. So that's the one way or another card, which we discard that, and that allows us to draw 3 cards. So we got Cosmo, we have the Power of Justice, and we've got a Lethal Intent. We do have Wide Stance, where we can look at cards and discard cards. And we've got the one that allows us to remove 3 threat from a scheme that we could put out. And I think I will. Well, let's retrieve our captive first to see what which one's caught up underneath there. So Nebula is going to remove 3 threat from captured by Hydra. And then Moon Knight is going to take 1 consequential damage to remove 2 threat from captured by Hydra. So we're going to send this third captured by Hydra to the victory display just to get it out of play. And we have Shang-Chi. It says after you play Shang-Chi from your hand, spend a energy resource and stun an enemy. Ooh, that's nice. The only options we have is Wide Stance, or we've got the Power of Justice, which I think, yeah, we only can have 3 allies at a time on the table. So how about we do this? Elektra is going to attack Taskmaster, do 3 damage to him. We're going to put Shang-Chi on the table. And I'll use Nebula's ship, which gives us a wild resource. So that allows us to stun an enemy. We're going to stun the Taskmaster. He is now stunned. Shang-Chi, he can do 2 damage to the Taskmaster. We'll put Cutthroat Ambition out onto the table. We'll spin Cosmo to do that. We'll put Wide Stance out onto the table. Okay. And that's going to cost us, we'll spend arrows to put that out. Power of Justice and Lethal Intent. Yeah, let's go ahead and do spends 1 resource to play Lethal Intent. And so we'll choose to remove 3 threat from a scheme. So hunting down heroes will take all the threat off of there. How's that sound? Yep. Discard card. All right, we need to place 1 consequential on Shang-Chi. And that is going to end my turn. I've only got 1 card left in my deck, so whenever I advance the phase, I will deck myself. Okay, so I draw 5 cards. Finally got Gamora. And we deal ourselves an encounter card because of that. So I got 2 encounter cards so far to deal with. Ouch. And we'll keep in mind that we have piercing and overkill, and then I take 1 less damage. All right. So we'll place 1 threat on hunting down heroes. We're going to place another threat on hunting down heroes. Taskmaster is not going to attack us because he's... Why did I place... Yeah, we're going to 2 threat on hunting down heroes. Yeah. So he's stunned, so he's not going to attack us, but he does deal a 3rd encounter card. We'll look at this one first, and it is an advance card. Oh boy. So a 2 plus 2 is 4. Now we're up to 6. The Second encounter card is the Gang Up card. It says the villain and each minion engage with you attacks you. So Taskmaster is going to attack us for 2. Plus 1 is 3, so that knocks our tough off. And then the last one is Taskmaster's Sword. Attached to Taskmaster, Taskmaster gains piercing, hero action, exhaust your hero, and spend 2 resources to discard this card. And it gives him +1 attack. Alright, so that ends Taskmaster's turn. Let's look and see. Yes, looks like Mecha has made it into the chat. And yes, I did say Gamera. That's how it's spelled, right? Gamera? Gamora. It is a big turtle that breathes fire. Similar to sort of Godzilla. Alright, so it's Nebula's turn. Let's see if we can do enough damage to get out of this game. We've only got 11 health left onto Taskmaster, and we've got 2 damage with Shang-Chi, 3 damage. No, we don't. We need to first take care of all of our upgrades here. So we remove 3 threat from a scheme, so we'll take 3 threat off of hunting down heroes. You may be able to hear popping in the background. It is the 4th of July weekend. And my neighbors love firecrackers. The other special is look at the top 3 cards of the encounter deck, discard 1, and put the rest back in any order. So let's do that. Let's take a look at the top 3 cards. First one is Hydra Soldier. We've got Photographic Reflexes. And we've got Assault. So we're going to get rid of Photographic Reflexes. We're going to put Hydra Soldier onto the and then we'll put Assault on top of the deck. Kaiju in the game. Marvel owns the Godzilla. That's right. We could have Godzilla. We could also have Godzuki. Got like a team up. All right, so we've taken care of our upgrades at the beginning of the game. So, probably weren't here from the beginning. I'm using Nebula's Precon deck against Taskmaster, which is proving to be pretty fun. Big turns. All right, so Elektra's going to do 3 damage to Taskmaster, and she's defeated. Moon Knight is going to do 2 damage to Taskmaster. Moon Knight's defeated. Shang-Chi is going to do 2 damage to Taskmaster. And he takes 1 consequential damage. We'll spend Yeah, she totally is. And playing against Taskmaster, she is Justice. And playing against Taskmaster, she gets to fetch those captured by Hydra cards, which has allowed me to get some pretty beefy allies out onto the table, Shang-Chi and so forth. So we'll just say it right, Gamora on the table. And we'll spend 3 resources for that. Power of Justice, Justice Served, and Combat Ready. So then Gamora is going to do 2 damage to Taskmaster. And then for the final shot, Nebula is going to remove the last 2 health from Taskmaster. So, Taskmaster has been defeated by the Precon Nebula. Her deck is powerful. Her Precon deck is very good. She's got a lot of good cards in her Precon, and it allows her to really build up some nice turns. So, pretty fun game. So this is Precon Alley. This is whenever I like to play with my Precon decks and take them up against some heroes or some villains. So thanks for watching. Thanks, Mecha, for the GG, and I'll probably be posting this one to YouTube. I'll have to look and see. Unless I made some hugely glaring errors and mistakes. Which I know I made one or two along the way, probably. Because there's a lot of layers to playing Nebula and Taskmaster. A lot of triggers to remember. So anyway, I'll probably post this one to YouTube. Thanks for watching today. I am the Board Game Lawyer. And I hope to bring you another video again very soon.